Hi, my name's Lee Burkhill and I'm also known as the Garden Ninja. I'm a garden designer based in the northwest of England, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of my garden here at Garden Ninja HQ, known as the Exploding Atom Garden. Now this site's really exposed, so I apologise for the wind noise in advance because we do get quite a strong crosswind, which has been key in parts of the design and the planting that I've chosen. Now the Exploding Atom Garden is based on an atom that has exploded. So I live here in a lovely setting over in the northwest. I moved from the suburbs of Manchester about 3 years ago, and I specialise in small and awkward garden design. And when I moved here, I suddenly found myself with a bit of a quandary because all of a sudden I've got this amazing space to both design and plant with. When I moved here, it was just a blank field, and I'm surrounded by rural fields and agriculture, and that's really played a key part in the design process in being both sympathetic and also cohesive with the rest of the surrounding landscape. So that's a bit of a preamble. There's loads of videos on YouTube about how I created this garden if you want to look at it in more depth, but let's have a walk around and I'll show you some of the key design features and explain exactly why I've done that. So the garden itself is based on a set of concentric rings that have been split. I designed it to make them look like shards had exploded out from the centre of the atom. And what I wanted to do was to use my passion for red hot prairie planting and herbaceous perennials and bring it into this rural setting so that we had a real firecracker of a garden. Now the interesting thing with this garden is that we've got these different belts. If you see behind me, you see some gabions there and my trusty wheelbarrow because I've been weeding, but each belt has its own theme. So behind me here we've got these wild and woody shards. So here what I wanted to do is to try and replicate that kind of woodland feel. We've got things like the Himalayan birch, we've got some grasses, ferns, things that don't mind a little bit of shade, because when these trees are in full leaf, it casts quite a lot of heavy shade in this part of the garden. So the outer rings are all really wild and woody and gnarled, as if they're really disjointed. And then as we move further in to the Exploding Atom Garden, the next ring here is where I have a lot of sort of dusky pinks, lots of texture and real warm summer colours. Lots of ground cover. We've got the Euonymus alatus behind me here, the burning bush that turns like a blood red in around September time. If I walk over here, you'll see we've got multi-stem hazel behind me. We've got some beautiful Gladitsia, I think they are sunburst, and those just give like a really broad canopy that lets a lot of light through, so it's not too shaded in this this ring. So that's kind of like the warm pinks. In fact, let's go to the moody goth border. When we come up round to this section of rings, this is what I call the moody goth border. So I love dark purples, angry, brutal looking plants that kind of are probably looked down upon by the gentler herbaceous perennials. And I really wanted this ring to be, moody. So we've got things like the huge cardoons there that just tower in the middle of summer. We've got things like thalictrums. What else have we got? We've got physocarpus. We've got more multi-stem hazels, but much bigger ones to give that block colour. Here behind me, we've got Asphagus sylvatica, Daywick purple. So that's the moody goth border, sun's coming out. We've then got sort of a matching pinky, softer border there. We've got more woodland at the back with these three shards. But in this inner ring, the inner core, this is where all the heat and the action is going to happen. So the design principle of this was to have really fiery reds, yellows and oranges that would burst up sort of late July, August into September. And this is the real like piece de resistance of the garden, in that from the house I wanted the red hot core to draw your eye in. I wanted it to pull you into the centre and make you go, what's over there? I need to go and check that out. And all these paths round here link into this inner core. What I also wanted to do is to have some structure, because it's lovely to have all these beds and trees, but in the middle of winter we need something to sort of ground the garden, to pull it in, so it's not just a set of borders. And what I chose to do was to get these gabions built Usually you probably see those at the side of motorways or you see them as retaining walls, but I wanted to use them as like really brutal, aggressive shards of the exploding atom garden. But I needed to tie them in to my lovely house at the back. So what I did was I've reused, let's go and have a closer look. I've reused into a squat some of the bricks that were left over. I broke up some of the concrete flags that I had left over in the garden, and then on top, to match in with the roof, we've got some of the slate tiles. So really the whole purpose of this garden is to blend in, but also draw your eye. A lot of the plant species are native to the UK. The plants in this really weedy border, and really showing warts and all here, pretty much I grew all of them from seed last year without plastic. And that was the challenge I gave myself, because I think as garden designers and plantsmen and women, we've got to be able to lead by example. There's some horrendous stats out there to do with single-use plastic, and I thought, well, do you know what? I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I will grow all these. So I think this year, hopefully, they're going to look incredible. Anyway, I probably waffled on far too long. I suppose the best way I could summarise this garden is sympathetic with a wow factor. So if you want to know more about this garden, please check out my YouTube channel, where there are loads more of these videos. We're going into probably excruciating detail on the finer points of plants, design, shape and structure. I've been Garden Ninja, thanks very much for having me, and I'll speak to you soon.